What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. And Craig, it's conference championship time. 2 games in the NFL this week. We got a lot going on here. Unless you want to start with any final thoughts on the national championship, which I put money on as soon as I was in Las Vegas. I put money on Clemson with the points immediately as soon as I got there. Then I went to my work meeting. Ooh, don't tell my boss. But yeah, that didn't happen for us there. So do you want to say anything about that? You just want to move on forward?
Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to be watching. I got some messages about last week because we went undefeated Saturday and Sunday. I mean, I've never gone undefeated in the divisional playoff. Like, I guess you could come on here and say, I told you that I win every year like that, but I would never do that. Like, that was incredible. Like, we had a great Saturday and Sunday, nailed all of the picks, totals, sides, and totals. Like, it was wild. And then, so I was feeling so good going into Monday night. I'm like, wow, we're gonna be going into this live stream off an undefeated week. I mean, who goes undefeated in the playoffs, in the NFL playoffs? Nobody. And then, I really, it would be silly of me at this point to say and still maintain that Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow after seeing what we saw in that game.
Yeah.
But I still will say this. I'm still a big believer in Clemson. I'm still a big believer in Trevor Lawrence. And LSU that quarterback had a fantastic year, a fantastic game. Their coach was so good, their offensive coordinator, Brady. He was so good that 48 hours after, he's gone. He's going back to the NFL, and he's the offensive coordinator with Carolina. So
right.
I have no regrets. LSU was obviously the right side in that game. There is no nonsense or BS where I would tell you that, but if. The game was close for a while. My only regret, and it happens in every game, is you're always up one play away when you look back and you lose, which was the offensive pass interference call when Clemson scored a touchdown late. They called it back. Obviously, that was not pass interference. They score that touchdown. They're only one touchdown away from covering with 6 minutes to go and 3 timeouts. Very easily could have covered that game, but I'm not going to sit here and have sour grapes over it. It was the wrong pick. LSU was the right pick. And so last year we won the national championship. This year we lost it, but hopefully maybe this year we'll win the Super Bowl. So
but we went 4-0 in the.
We did go 4-0
in the divisional round.
Now to be clear, we had no pick on the final game. We had no official pick here on the live stream for the final game. And then you took the next step to say, you know what, I need one more pick. I'm taking Green Bay in the pool. And by the way, a great lesson for the reason, and summarizing this whole entire season, that is exactly the reason why. We didn't love Seattle. We didn't love Green Bay in that final pick, but Howard looks at his pool. He sees 3.5. Oh, the line's 4.5 right now. I'm getting a little value there. Boom. Went down on Green Bay. If the line was 4, it would have been a push. 4.5 for most people waiting until the weekend. It would have been a loss. And so that one ended up right as well. But yeah, Kansas City laying those points certainly didn't feel really good at the start of that game, 24-0. But that turned out to be a winner. San Francisco was an easy winner. First time all year we're giving out favorites like that. Like, oh yeah, let's just give out some favorites. -7, -10. Okay, fine. And then the under in Baltimore, Tennessee, which honestly of the 3 games was the luckiest one because you don't expect the Ravens to go 0 for 3 on 4th and 1, and all they had to do was get one of those really for that. I mean, Baltimore had over 400 yards of offense, so we were a little fortunate there. And at the end of the game, it got a little dicey. But
I was on my knees,
we got it though.
Like watching that game 6 inches away from the TV set to the point where my wife was like, how much money do you have on this game now?
It was dicey. So the total was 47, and we hit that one too. So 3-0 with the picks last week on the live stream in the NFL, and then adding in the extra pick for Green Bay. We really didn't have a strong opinion on that. And by the way, that made sense because the game went right down to the end, total and side, right to the last minute of the game. There was no clear right side there, a bounce here or there, and then Monday night. Clearly, we lost, and congratulations to LSU.
Well, I was definitely that cocky also after the
I loved Clemson. I'm like, oh, we are. I'm like, I am feeling so good right now, winning all the games of the weekend. This is going to be a perfect weekend. Clemson right out of the box takes a 7-0 lead. I'm like, oh, this is going. I'm like, this is going exactly the way I thought. I'm getting ready, and then it's like, oh boy, second half came and
I had a Monday business meeting, and I was talking to somebody who put their money on LSU when they got there. And so of course, I was like, well, I mean, I said, I'll give you $85 for your ticket right now. And I was trying to buy him down and let him buy out of his bet. And then we were watching the game together. And at one point he just turned to me like, it was probably like midway through the second quarter, and he was like, "I'll let you buy this ticket for $175."
Yeah. But yeah, at the half it was still very unclear. But toward the end of the game, it just got. And then Lawrence fumbled at the end. He also threw a lot of really high, uncharacteristic passes. So yeah, we'll see. But going into the year next year, Clemson will be the favorite to win the national championship. Travis Etienne today declared that he's staying at Clemson, which is very surprising. Him and Lawrence will be there. They still have good receivers. They're going to be the favorite going into next year, without a doubt.
All right. Well, that was last week. Now we're on to this week. The pressure's obviously on us both.
Everyone's going to be watching. We win all these picks in the wild card and then the divisional round. I guess we have to win these too. This is not easy this week. This is tough.
It's not easy. Both games are at 7.5.
Yeah.
And then, man, last I saw that over/under on the Kansas City game was getting crazy. Let's start in the AFC. We'll go Tennessee, Kansas City. Kansas City favored by 7.5. I believe it opened at 10 and then ended up down at 7.5, like a day or two later.
Right.
The over started up at like 51.5, and last I saw, it was at 53.
Yeah, it's a 52.5, 53. And Tennessee is 7 in some spots, but for the purposes of doing this, there are some 7.5s. So certainly we could grade it out as that. It's interesting because they're going into this game in particular. If you're looking just at trends and you're looking at spots, you would look at it and just say blindly, like Tennessee at some point has to fall apart. Like it just they win their games. Week 17, they go to Houston, they win that game relatively easy. They go into the first round of the playoffs, no question, they were the right side, they win. They go into Baltimore. Baltimore made some mistakes, no question. The game should have been a little bit closer, but they go on the road, and in the third straight week on the road, that's usually like the death spot for any NFL team, 3 weeks in a row. Like the winning percentage on that, forget about covering. The winning percentage on that is so low, well below 50%. And so I feel like, at least in the research that I've done, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, I watch a lot of analysis, people who I think are as smart or smarter than me, and people who break this down. I feel like all the same people just keep going against Tennessee every single week. And I don't think I don't think going against this trend is the right way to go. I just don't. I mean, certainly there is a chance that they could go to Kansas City and get blown out, but I don't see it. I don't. I think that the Titans have, in all of my years of watching football, they have a player that is unstoppable in Derrick Henry. Yeah. And I mean, and I get it. Even in DFS, I see people. Oh, this is the week to not take Derrick Henry. 2 weeks ago, this is the week to not take Derrick Henry. 3 weeks ago, this is the week. But I haven't seen a player like this a long time in the NFL, and maybe since Lynch had his run in the playoffs many years ago, the Beast Quake run when he was with Seattle and carried them all the way to the Super Bowl. And I feel like Tennessee will control the clock in this game. They have a very creative offensive staff. They had the jump pass. They had that at 4th and 1.
The jump pass.
They had the jump pass from Henry. They had a 4th and 1, and then the offensive coordinator calls the bomb to that kid I had never heard of on Tennessee, and he scored a 50-yard touchdown. And they keep winning without Tannehill playing well or doing anything. What happens if Tannehill plays well this week? So, what the negative for Tennessee is that they do not stop the pass. They've had a hard time stopping the pass all season long. But I can't go against the Titans. I can't do it. I got to take the points here. And I do think they have a chance to win the game outright. It would not surprise me. 3 weeks in a row on the road hasn't mattered. This is the 4th straight week. And I feel like, at the very least, we'll know almost immediately with this game. I think that It's about tempo. It's about the Titans controlling that clock and just milking that thing all the way down and having an opportunity, even if they're losing at the end of the game by 10, to score a late touchdown and get us a cover. So in general, the road teams that have been underdogs in the AFC and NFC championship games over the last decade are covering almost 70% of the spreads, the road teams, when they're 7 points or more. So I hate to look at the past and make it as an indicator of the future, especially 7 or 8 years ago. But in this particular case, and I think honestly in both games, I think that the points, especially in this one in particular, is the way to go. So I want to take Tennessee plus 7.5 points in this game. And I feel like of the two games, I give Tennessee a better chance to win than I give Green Bay at San Francisco.
I kind of, aside from the conspiracy theorist in me talking about the fact that Super Bowl I was Kansas City versus Green Bay, and for the 100th year of the NFL and their big top 100 at all the positions and whatnot, that that there is the little conspiracy theorist in me kind of tilts that way. I like the points. I do like Kansas City to win this one. However, in a close fashion. Listen,
right? I think Kansas City's going to win too. I think Kansas City's going to win too, but I just think that this is too many points. I mean,
listen, I think it's too many points. Also, the last time these two teams played was Week 10. Tennessee wins at 35-32.
Very lucky. A missed field goal for Kansas City in the game. Very lucky.
Correct.
Easy field goal for them. 30
Easy field goal for them. That notwithstanding, if you look at this, Derrick Henry in that game ran 23 times for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kansas City can't stop him. They just can't.
Who has stopped Derrick Henry in the last 2 months?
29th ranked run defense. But here's the thing also. Kansas City, in that game, Patrick Mahomes threw for 446 yards and 3 touchdowns. No interceptions. Had a phenomenal game. So these two teams play each other tight because it's really, I was making a joke about it before, it's the resistible force against the movable object. Kansas City can't stop the run. Tennessee can't stop the pass. They're still going to stay close because of the way Vrabel plays that game, that clock game, and he's really going to want to try and keep that time of possession going. So I think this game is close no matter what, and I think Kansas City edges it out because, like you said, it was that missed field goal that they probably should have had, and Harrison Butker makes that kick usually the majority of the time. That I think the 7.5 points is a gift, and I do like KC to win this one. Instead, I do agree with you that Tennessee has the capability of winning it outright, obviously, more than Green Bay over San Francisco. Again, I'm thinking that if Rodgers shows up and has one of his 300-yard games.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. A lot of people are teasing down these two games. In the last few years, and I look at, in terms of wagering and gambling, I'm going on about 10 years of me really doing this sort of stuff. This is the least amount of strong opinions that I've seen in both games in a long time. Like I hear, put it this way, I'll take it back. I hear a lot of strong opinions for both sides.
Yes.
So that's what makes me think, like, I mean, we're not throwing an old takes exposed on them, but it's like someone's going to be really wrong about their opinions in this. and I feel like, especially in this spot, there are people that are just keep blindly going against the Titans, waiting for them to fall apart. I don't think that's the right thing to do here in this spot. They may lose, but I don't think it's by this much. And again, you get a 2-team teaser. What you could do hypothetically is you get your 12 points, 6 on each side. You could tease Kansas City down to -1, -1.5. You tease San Francisco down to -1, -1.5. And I think the consensus is both teams feel pretty strongly. And by the way, the indicators are that the home teams win. But the home teams against the spread in the AFC and NFC championship over the last decade is awful. It's like 40%. So that could mean that both home teams win, but neither of them cover. I think that's a distinct possibility in this game. But we'll now talk about the NFC championship game. There's a couple of other interesting props that I want to mention.
Wait a second. I want the over-under in that other game, though. I'd like to touch on that. No,
Okay.
in the Kansas City,
Oh,
Tennessee game.
I really don't have a strong opinion on it. It's 52
Nothing.
and a half.
Okay. Okay. I was
Not
just wanted to make
really.
sure.
Not really. My general theory for people who have watched this in the NFL, usually what I do is when just and again, it's just something that I've noticed and followed trends, is that when I see a total of about 45 or more, I usually lean over. If it's below 45, I usually go under. It's just what I normally do. Even when the totals are 50, I usually go over. When I see a 43, it takes me toward the under. It's just what I've done and relatively successful. So Kansas City or Tennessee plus 7.5 is the first pick. The NFC Championship, I do not have a strong opinion on. I have gone back and forth on this all the way this week, waiting till this moment where we have to sit here and do this and making the final call because I have not been a believer in the Packers all season long. Statistically, they've been outgained by teams. Their best game of the season may have been last week when they played against Seattle. The only reason why that game got out of hand and then Seattle brought them back was because the Seahawks can't run at all. Like it was ridiculous. It was really nice for Pete Carroll to bring in Lynch and use Homer, but those guys couldn't run the ball. And I don't want to get caught up so much in the in the 49ers that week against Minnesota. I think they caught the Vikings in a really, really good spot last week. Coming off the bye week, San Francisco really needed it. And so we took the 49ers last week. But going into this game, and I thought about it, and I look back, I feel like the 49ers, as good as they have been all season long, and I think they are the better team in this spot, they've played so many close games. They've won them all, but they've played so many close games. I mean, who would have thought 2 months ago they lost to Atlanta, They played a 48-46 game against the Saints. They barely beat the Rams. Like, they played so many close games, and it was always they would win in the end somehow. And I kind of feel like that's going to happen again. I feel like that's the road that we're going down here. And the key thing for me, and again, when you really don't have a strong opinion, then I start to get into the who versus who. The first thing that you do, or I always do, is I look at the coaches. And I think the coaching matchup here definitely goes on the side of San Francisco.
Yes.
I think San Francisco is the better coach. But I really feel like maybe this is a quarterback versus quarterback deal where you have Rodgers versus Garoppolo. I think I still want to take Rodgers in this spot. So I'm going to lightly take Green Bay plus the points. Don't feel wonderful about it because of how poorly Green Bay played at San Francisco the last time. But history tells you that when a team loses to another team the first time, at the very least, the second time they come back and they play well. They may not win, but they play well. And I will expect that the Packers play better against the 49ers. I'm hoping that what happened last week happens again this week, where they get the kick and they take the ball and they script out those plays. LaFleur has those scripted plays at the beginning. It seems like every game this year, the Packers go up on teams. They go up. They go up 7-0. They go up 10-0. They go up 3-0. Because they have such a good game plan for their first 15 or 20 plays. And then for whatever reason, we saw this all year long, they just couldn't score in the second half. It was kind of bizarre.
Right, we saw that last week, too.
This is what happened. They're like a first half team. It's strange. But if we're getting 7.5 as a first half team, I think that this is probably the play that I will go with. But again, we're forced into a situation where we're making 2 picks, but there are a couple of props I actually like that I want to mention.
I'd rather do that because to be honest, right now, listen, as much as again, I love myself a good conspiracy narrative. I kind of feel like my lean is towards San Francisco.
What about the revenge game though? Isn't this the revenge?
There's really not a revenge game. The way that the Green Bay Packers are going to be able to either keep this close or win this game is they're going to have to do it on the back of Aaron Rodgers. They're going to have to do it on his arm. He is going to need – look at 9 out of his last 9 games, all right, Rodgers has thrown for 240 yards 3 times or more. All right, 1 300-yard game. And that obviously concerns me because the run defense for San Francisco, and we saw how they handled Dalvin Cook, and we saw how they handled Alex Madison, which to me – is a vastly superior run game to the Green Bay Packers. You also have Brian Bulaga, who's banged up. So I think that the Niners have the capability of containing Aaron Jones. And then if you're matching up receivers, obviously Devontae Adams is going to beat, whether it's Witherspoon or Mosley, or even if they throw Richard Sherman onto him, they're going to end up having to bring safety help over to double cover Devontae Adams. So the question is does Aaron Rodgers have enough time to throw up a vintage game? If he doesn't, then I think that this really turns into, I think it stays not low scoring, but more or less, I think this could be like a 27-16 type of game.
Under?
Yeah, where I'm leaning on the 49ers, and I think that because I think the ground game from Shanahan is rock solid with the Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida. You got a trio of guys here that you can now pound the rock as much as you want. And I think that'll just kind of open things up. I worry about Jimmy Garoppolo being inexperienced and the pressure of the moment getting to him a little bit too much. That definitely ticks towards Aaron Rodgers' favor. But I just think overall on these teams, I feel like San Francisco has the superior defense, both against the run and the pass, to contain what Green Bay has. So my lean is actually going to be San Francisco.
All right. Well, listen, fair enough on that. I feel like taking two dogs, one is going to win, and I would never advise being in this position with any kind of wagering bankroll to go all in on any of these games. And and even though we won a lot of them last week, we said the same thing. Like, you get to this point at the end of the season, you've wagered the whole year long. You've done college, you've done pro. We've given you guys so many under the radar picks. The lines are so sharp now. There's really no other place to go. So there are a couple of props, though, that I'm interested in. One of them is, regardless of the outcome with Ryan Tannehill, I had noticed that his passing yards, Howard, if I'm not mistaken, was at like 238, something like that, on FanDuel.
Oh, I don't have that in front of me right now.
Well, anyway, regardless,
238 is actually considering the dude threw for 88 yards last week.
I'm going under. Why not?
238 seems a little bit high to me, actually.
Yeah. And the other one was Mahomes' rushing yards over 18.5. Mahomes looked pretty good running the ball last week, and I would figure if Mahomes rushes the ball 3 times, shouldn't he go over that total of 18? I mean, if he runs, he's running for a first down, right? 9 yards, 8 yards. Like, Patrick Mahomes is not rushing for 4 yards on any rush, right? So those were a couple that I was looking at, but obviously with the inability to actually bet on FanDuel, it would just be my, because I live in Florida, it would just be my strict opinion on those. So that's kind of the way that I see those games. I know that in 2 weeks we'll be back here with a lot of fun props for the Super Bowl, like we did last year. We did the full hour and did, I think, like 30 or 40 props or something like that. So we'll do that again, and we'll give you guys time. I think we're thinking of doing it like on a Thursday before the Super Bowl, something like that. So we'll give you guys time to digest those. But got 2 games, no college. This is it. This is pretty much the end of the run here for the football.
Just kind of end of the run for football. Obviously, we're waiting for those MLB futures that we want to start talking about.
Yeah, they're actually out, by the way. They're out.
Ooh.
Yeah, Caesar. The Westgate has theirs out tomorrow, and Caesars posted it 2 days ago. So
fantastic.
Getting ready for those. That will do well on. That I'm confident on.
All right. Well, lots more coming up in the future. So here we go. I guess to sum it up, we both like Tennessee with the points. Neither one of us really like the over/under in that one.
No.
You like Green Bay with the points.
I would lean Green Bay.
I lean San Francisco on that. Sorry, I hate to.
I would go with a lean on the under with you on that second game.
I would go with a lean on the under.
But it wouldn't be a pick for me. But I would lean it. I think again these games and the lines are so sharp at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that there's a lot of variance. I don't think that there was any advantage. And by the way, for the way that this is trending, at least, I think that you could wait until Sunday, and you may be able to get 8 points. in these games if you want. Like, I think that's the way it's headed. I think the favorites are being bet up, and in both situations, the public is over 60% betting on both favorites this week. So
I'd be really surprised if Tennessee got 8 points. That would be a dream. I would love that.
there's a chance of that. Right now, it doesn't look like it because they're more 7.5 range.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you'll get a solid 7.5. Like right now, to get 7.5, you got to lay 120 to win 100.
Right. All right. Well, there we go. There you got it, peoples. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Wager Alarm live stream. Big thanks to Matt Sells, our producer, Monkey Knife Fight, our sponsor. I think they're our sponsor. I don't even know if they're our sponsor anymore. But you know what? Listen, I was talking to Nick from Monkey Knife Fight over the weekend at the FSGA conference. Really nice dude. So I'm very happy to throw him a free promo if that's the case. Monkey Knife Fight. You want to talk prop picks? Monkey Knife Fight. That's the way to do it. All right. That's going to do it for us here today. Craig, any final words?
No, not really. I look forward to us being back in 2 weeks. So the schedule is in 2 weeks from now. Howard and I will do our Super Bowl live stream. And then at some point, I think probably either late February or March, we will do the Major League Baseball win totals. We'll do the American League on one night. We'll do the National League one night. And then, although it is kind of sad coming to an end with the football, because I know that you and I won't be seeing each other as much on this, the one thing that we did last year is we did a very extensive NCAA tournament March Madness one, where I believe we went 3 straight weeks of a lot of picks. We had a fun time with that, and I'm looking forward to doing that again with you. So appreciate everybody who watched all season long. We did the very best we could. We finished over 500 2 straight years. You guys could go back and check the records. It was a lot of fun to do. I'm happy we were able to help people out even last week too.
Sure.
And I just at the end of the season, and I know people are going to use discretionary income on the Super Bowl and play with the boxes and play with these props, and I totally get it. But this is the time of the year to really be thankful if you did do well and not lay it all down on games like this weekend. There's no advantage. There's no advantage in these games. There's no special lines. There's no, looking at a college quarterback that's not playing or a coach that's leaving. These games are on TV. The world is watching, and better to enjoy them this week. And then let's get to the Super Bowl, see if we can get some advantages on those player props.
There you go. Responsible gaming from my man Craig Mish. Love to hear that. Again, thank you so much for tuning into the Wager Alarm live stream. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Prop bets for the Super Bowl and a Super Bowl pick from both me and Craig. Maybe we'll actually agree on this one. We'll find out next time on the Wager Alarm live stream. We'll check you next time.